Hello, hello, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining our webinar of today. My name is Felipe Mica, and I am the Vice President of the ASOCOPI, the Asociación Colombiana de Profesores de Inglés. And it's a pleasure to be here sharing with you. Today, we are going to be having an interesting session guided by one of our colleagues. I will introduce her in a moment. Just to start, it is important for you to know that ASOCOPI has been cultivating, supporting, and treasuring English language teaching since 1965. Last year, we celebrated 60 years of presence and work in Colombia. So we're glad to share this space with you. And also, we're happy to have you today in our webinar. This is the board of directors. So we have our president, who is Professor Jonathan Vasquez. We have our secretary, Jonathan Delgado. We have our tesorera, Professor Luz Mari Quintero, and our spokesperson, who is Wendy Panche, and I am Felipe Mican, who is talking to you right now. Okay. Just to tell you a little bit more about us, in case you don't know it, ASOCOPI is currently working in 6 different areas. Number 1 is related to education. Number 2, related to culture, science, technology, and innovation, social development, support for nonprofit organizations, and also support for educational initiatives and entrepreneurships. In each one of these areas, we have different initiatives, different activities, both at the local, national, and also international level. So you're more than invited to get to know a little bit more about the association and also about what we do as teachers, pre-service teachers, and also students. I also would like to mention that we have a journal. This journal is called How. You all are invited to submit articles. You can find the information online, and there is a call for papers open. So we invite you to see this publication, to circulate it, to also read it, as it is an important part of our work. And today, I'm glad to present and I'm glad to introduce Carol Ximena Bolaños Prieto. She is a professional with a bachelor's degree in basic education with an emphasis in English, and she has more than 14 years of experience in the education sector. Currently is a second grade teacher in a dual language program at Forest Hill Elementary School in the USA. She's experienced as a lead teacher, self-contained classroom teacher, and science, math, and English educator for elementary and middle school students. She's skilled in implementing research-based strategies to support English as a second language learning process, and she improves students' writing and literacy development. She's also committed to integrating technology, critical thinking, collaboration, and other 21st century skills into classroom instruction to foster meaningful learning experiences. So thank you so much, Jimena, for being here with us. Also, thank you for sharing your interest in one of the webinars, and all the attendees are invited to also participate in our sessions. Okay, so if you would like to share pedagogical experience, maybe a research proposal, okay, that you would like more people to get to know about it, feel free to contact us, and we would be more than happy to have you here in our webinar. What we are going to do is Carol Ximena would have around 45 minutes to present, okay, to share with you. If there is any question, if there is any comment, feel free to leave it in the chat box, and later we would have some time to discuss and to talk to her. So thank you once again, Carol Ximena, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Andres. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. And as Andres says, I'm so glad to be here with you. So just give me a second. I'm going to share with you my screen. Yes. Since I have a presentation, I would like to share with you. Please, when the screen, could you tell me, please, a little bit, Andres, if you are seeing
Yes, it is there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, as I told you guys, well, Andres introduced, my name is Carol Ximena Bolaños Prieto. I am a master's student of technological education from Distrital University, Francisco José de Caldas. And my objective with this webinar are describe how open educational resource can be integrated into bilingual classrooms to support the teaching and Spanish Digraphs. And also share practical strategies and digital activities that promote phonological awareness and cross-linguistic transfer between Spanish and English. And as Andres told you, I came to United States as an exchange teacher from Colombia. Currently working in Forest Hill Elementary School as a Spanish teacher in second grade. I am in a dual program, dual language program, and my students are second graders between 7 and 8 years old. Here you can see a picture of my class. This is one of my classes. And some of them are immigrants from Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Venezuela, and Colombia, or born here in the United States, but their families are immigrants from those countries. And as a Spanish teacher in a duolingual program in my school, in the school that I'm currently work, I found in the curriculum and a standard, and the standard says the student recognizes and reads at grade level the words with digraphs che, que, qui, ge, gi, je, and r. Yeah, and I start asking myself, would the implementation of a technological resource help them, I mean, my students, develop the phonemic awareness need to achieve this standard? When I was thinking about a solution or a strategy or a resource I can apply, of course, I start thinking as a master in education student. I start thinking in how what I have learned in my master help me to help my students in order to achieve this standard. Yes, and I start thinking in an open educational resource. Open educational resource is defined as a teaching and learning material that are freely accessible and can be reused, adapted, and redistributed through open licenses. Yeah. So these resources promote equitable access to knowledge, collaborative learning, and innovation in educational practices. I want to share with you how my open educational resource looks like. And if you notice here, I divided in 5 units: digrafo che, digrafo r, digrafo que, digrafo y, and digrafo beki. And then in each one of the units, my students found specific activities. These activities are per each one of the per each one of the digraphs. Yeah, in this case, everything was about digrafo che. They found first a video. In the video, they find a song with the sound of the digraph and also some words and a little bit a background in which they can settle their minds when they are thinking of the sound. And then they have palabra correcta, adivina la palabra, leo el cuento. Those were activities. I'm going to show you how the activities looks like too. And also, the last one, escoge la palabra, it would be like a quiz in which they have to show me if they advance or not, yeah, if they got or not the sound of the digraph, yeah. And here I have, let me go to the Genie here. Here in this one, I have, oh, just give me a second. It is loading. Here I have, for example, the activity, the first one, with digrafo che. So in this case, they found the card, yes, with the picture. And also I put, as I told you, I am in a dual program. And in this activity, I want that they connect the word, I mean the vocabulary, in English with Spanish. So that's why I put it here in English. And here the picture. And the idea here is that my students read the words chivo and sivo and try to figure out how, what is the correct one, yeah? Chivo or sivo in this case, And the idea, they click here, clicking enviar, and if you notice, that was the correct one, yeah. And in each one of these type of activities, they have to work with 11, around 11 or 12 words. In this case, the word is vest, chaleco in Spanish. So the idea is that they have to say chaleco or saleco, and they have to choose, because of the sound, the word chaleco, yeah? And as I told you, they're doing along the platform with, in this case, 11 words. And they recognize the sound and relate the sound. In this activity, the purpose was relate the word, the sound with the picture, and also related with the English name of the object in this case. The other activity that, if you see here, the other activity is Leo el cuento, yeah? And here in Leo el cuento, they read a story. I wrote the story. The story is written by me. And in the story, my students read something about, something related to their country, their home country. In this case, the story is about un pueblito Garifuna, yes? So I'm going to explain you a little more in another part of the presentation. But those are the activities that my students found, yeah, in the platform, in the open educational resource, and working by them, developed by them, sorry. And the other foundation that I have worked in the platform was the phonemical awareness. I want to share with you this short video. Give me a second.
¿Qué es eso?
Donde se cocina las comidas.
Exacto, ¿y cómo llamamos ese recipiente?
Que
Olla.
olla.
Entonces, ¿cómo escribo olla, Eisan? Olla. Ajá, muy bien el sonido.
La
Ya.
Ya.
Ah, eso. Excelente, Isan. Muy bien.
Esto se llama
¿Cómo se llama eso?
una red con mucho agujero.
Okay, in this video, you can observe a student who is trying to figure out how write the word olla. In that case, we were practice the digraph J, yeah, the sound. So he is trying to figure out which letters he needs in this type of a game that is in Colombia called el ahorcado. And the idea is that he tried to connect the sounds, click on the path, on the ABC, the letters that he needs to complete the word, yeah? And in this case, in this example that I'm showing you, the phonological awareness refers to the ability, to recognize and manipulate the sounds, the structure of language, including syllables, phonemes, and sound patterns, yeah? So this skill is fundamental for the development of reading and writing abilities. And it is enabled a student to connect written symbols with spoken language. That was one of the foundations in which I create the open educational resource. And also I have here the multicultural and bilingual learning. As I showed you before, yes, my students read a story, yes, written by me, in which they found first the words that we were working, I mean the target vocabulary, Remember that I proposed in the first activity, I proposed to them a specific vocabulary, and the idea is that I wanted to put the same vocabulary, but now in the story. And these activities adopt a multicultural perspective, yeah, but on bilingual education, emphasizing the importance of integrating students' cultural and linguistic backgrounds into the learning process. So the idea with this activity was connect their culture, festivals, food, traditions, places, yes, that they maybe have in mind, even because their parents talk to them about it, or because they lived there before coming to the United States. And the idea with these activities is they can connect that background also with the words that we were charging on the activity. So I'm going to show you here, in this case, the Pueblito Garifunas test. And if you notice here, they have the reading. And the idea is that they can connect, yes, the word that we were working in the first activity with the picture that we used in the first activity. So the idea is that they can connect the first activity vocabulary with this activity, but the vocabulary will be immersed in a short story. That also, as I told you, the story, the frame of the story was their home countries. I wrote the stories about Colombia, Honduras, Mexico, Cuba, and El Salvador. Yeah. And I take into account important aspects like festivals, celebrations, spaces, the important places. I mean, they have in those countries. And here, that is the other part of the story. If you notice, here we can connect the words, yeah, and like having pictures, yes, pictures with the words llanto, callado, maya, yeah, that's where the words that they work in the first activity at, and at the end of the story they have to answer questions with two purposes. First, that they show me if they understand and connect the culture in the text. Yes, in this case, this question is, ¿cuál es el lugar que más te gusta de tu país? The idea is that they read, because remember that all my students are from different countries than Honduras in this case. And the idea is that they can connect the story and say, okay, the most like place for me is, I don't know, Bogota or Caracas, whatever. And this is about the context, the culture, in fact. And in the other part, they have also a question about using the digraphs, the words that we were working on. Yeah, like reading comprehension, because if you notice in this question, it is something that happened in the story, and the idea is that they can connect what happened with the story with the word, with the target word, and the word that we are, the sound that we are also practicing, in this case, dígrafo J. Okay? And as I told you, those three foundations, I mean, the open educational resource, the phonolemical awareness, and the multicultural and bilingual learning provide me a pedagogical intervention, yes? Those foundations help me to do a pedagogical intervention that I implemented in a bilingual educational context with my students in second grade, where Spanish and English coexist as language of communication and learning. Yeah, the activities propose that phonological recognition in the student's first language can facilitate the acquisition of reading skills in a second language. In this case, the second language for them is English. Yeah, because they are most of them are Spanish native speakers. So I want to show you two activities in which you can identify phonemical awareness approach and multicultural identification. I'm going to show you the first one.
Bombillo. Ajá, muy bien. Excelente, amiga, maravilloso. Acuérdate que aquí tienes la pista.
Oh, ya me sé esta.
Ok. Excelente, muy bien. La pista, exacto, muy bien.
Cuando estás lámpara de luz.
¿Cómo sería cuando estás silencioso? Si la palabra va con ella, ¿sería cuál?
Callado.
Callado, muy bien, sí señora, excelente. Excelente.
So in this activity, as you can see, my student were processing letter by letter. Yes, she was processing letter by letter the word, the complete word. In this case, bombillo. Yes, and in this type of the game, she needs to recognize recognize the word by the picture first. Yes, but also make the connection with the grapheme. Yes, the grapheme with the sound. So that was an important activity in terms of phonemical awareness approach. Because as you can see, she says, esta me la sé. I already know this one. Yeah, she says, because she can connect. Yeah, she can connect the picture, yes, the word, and also, if I can say, breaking apart the word letter by letter, and also recognize the grapheme with the sound. So in this type of activities, I can notice that my students develop a little bit phonemical awareness toward the standard, yeah, that the district here, the school district proposed for us. And that was so amazing and interesting activity for them. I'm going to show you another one that is connected with multicultural identification.
De una cultura que hacen en Honduras.
Sí.
Todos se reúnen y bailan, hacen cosas, tocan tambores y las mujeres se disfrazan con vestidos elegantes y después bailan.
¡Ay, qué súper! O sea, que sí tiene que ver con tu cultura. Súper, me alegra mucho, Aitana. Súper genial.
So in this interaction, my student told me about her culture because she is from Honduras. I mean, she and her heritage country is Honduras. And in this experience, she told me how the reading the text connect her with a festival. Yes, and she gave me more information. Yeah, about the festival, with what they were dressing and the other elements that maybe I don't found. Maybe she didn't find in the text, but are in her background. Yeah, and that's why the multicultural identification is one of the foundations in those activities in the pedagogical intervention, because I noticed that the cross-linguistic phonetic transfer, yeah, help them to help them to go from Spanish to English and back and forward. They can connect the concepts, they can connect the words, they can connect the culture involved in language, yeah, through those type of multicultural reading and activities. And okay, and I want to share my learning through those activities in the pedagogical intervention. First, I would like to share some qualitative insights I observed during the implementation of the Open Educational Resource focus on Digraphs. So the first one is the virtual environment does not replace the teacher's support role. I know that in this area we are thinking in areas in how maybe the technology can replace the teacher, and maybe the people start thinking about how avoid the teacher's process or teacher support role. But during those interventions, I noticed that the teacher is so necessary because we are we make a combination. Yeah, the teacher can make a combination with the technological resource, and together we can give more support or a better support to our students. But it is not an option to avoid the teacher in the classroom. So the teacher gives the human being to human being sense during those practices. For example, in the pedagogical intervention, I use a strategy, the strategy that I learned here in the United States, that is the small group. And during the small groups, I have, like the word says, small groups of students. I mean, I work with 5, 6 students, and with them, I develop the activities. But as is as a small group, is easier monitoring their progress, yes, and their performance. And also, if I need to reteach something, or if I need to focus or assess better or activities or performance of my students, this strategy helps us a lot. So the small groups is one of the easiest, I guess, if I can say easiest, but also meaningful strategies that we as a teacher can use in order to support, even though we are in a virtual environment. I mean, they are using a virtual environment, is necessary the teacher, I mean, the human being there. And also because as a teacher, you can say, hey, you are doing well, well done, do it again, you can do it, and don't give up. And those things are human by human. I mean, from you human to human. So maybe you can put it in a page, and a reaction of a page, a web page or a virtual environment, but you know that is not exactly feeling like a person told you, you can go ahead, you can do it, we are going it together, yeah. Or maybe if you need to reteach. So that is something that as a teacher we can give to our students. And the second important learning is children teach other children. There were some activities in which I noticed how the students support, and also, yeah, how one student support other, identifying the sounds or correct them. Yeah, I noticed a solidarity relationship between them, and that relation could be like intercultural relationship, because some of the students, as I told you, are Spanish speakers, but others not. They are learning Spanish in my class. And that was so amazing when I saw some of them trying to correct the mistakes, trying to correct the sounds, trying to teach the others, hey, you have to say in this way, not in that way. Yeah. And I noticed how they can make it those types of relationships in order to go together to the same standard. I mean, to reach the standard. So that was so interesting notice during the interventions. And the last one, some students connected the sound che with the sound sh, yeah, in English. Remember that the che is a sound in Spanish, and they can connect the sound, sorry, in English. And how I noticed because at the end of each one of the units, I made with them some interviews. I interview them, and I asking them how they feel about their thoughts during the activities, which activities were for them more funny or difficult, or that's it. And in those conversations, one of the students told me and says, Miss Bolaños, in the che, when we pronounce, or we said che, sounds similar to that sound. And I said to him, okay, give me an example. And he says, for example, Miss Bolaños, when we say the word show, And I say, oh, okay, you can connect the sound with the che. He says, yes, it sounds similar for me. And I say, well, in this case, the cross-linguistic phonetic happens. Yeah, the cross-linguistic phonetic phenomena happen because they can connect the sound in Spanish with similar sounds in English. And at the end, in my proposal, in my pedagogical intervention, I had a key concept, yes, and it's the idea that if it sounds similar in Spanish for my students, yes, they can identify it in English. So that was the first idea when I was thinking about this proposal, yes, thinking in those cross-linguistic transfer. And as a conclusion, this webinar brings together my experience, yes, this experience and the experience of some of my students, because I show you a little bit what happened during the implementation, its core concepts, and the outcomes of the instructional intervention to highlight their overall significance for teaching practice by translating these insights into practical strategies. If you notice, I put in the open educational resource practical strategies, practical activities. It supports educators in effectively integrating open educational technologies into bilingual literacy instruction, ultimately fostering more inclusive and impactful learning experience. And finally, I would like to thank Asocopi to give me this important space to share my experience, my activities, the pedagogical intervention. And also, I would like to thank the Professor Piedad Ramirez Pardo, who's my teacher in the master and of a class that is called Participación en Comunidades de Aprendizaje. And also my professor Harold Andrés Castañeda, who he give me also lead me in this important activity and the pedagogical intervention too. So here I finished, Andres.
Okay, thank you so much, Carol Ximena, for sharing with us your work, also for being here, talking about your experience teaching in a bilingual context. And now we may have the possibility to ask some questions, some comments. So if you are here in our room and you would like to share a particular question or a particular comment, feel free to open your mic, open your camera if that's possible, or simply you can type it down there in the chat box. So if there is anyone who would like to participate, okay, Jean, I think, or Jan, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but okay, if you go
It's
ahead.
Jean. Hi,
Jean,
can,
okay,
can you
good.
hear me?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I work in the same school as Bolaños, and everything that she was saying is what I noticed in my English class, because I am the English teacher. So they do the same type of connections that she was talking about, because when they are learning in English, automatically they start thinking in Spanish. Oh, let me see if the sound is this or that. And they correct me because I don't speak Spanish. I try. Y dicen, no, maestra, no eres así. El sonido es diferente. Entonces, I think that the way that we are teaching and that the way that they are learning is so important because they are making connections all the time. And in any moment, they will start just speaking in both languages and writing and thinking in both languages with that switch code that will be so important. So I would like to say congratulations, Bolaños, because everything that you was explaining is exactly what's happening in our dual language classes. And I think it's really important because I am a Portuguese teacher, and what I do, I'm trying to think in three languages, and sometimes it's not so easy. But when you have this visual, as she was saying, the games or the texts, and you are reading and you make connection exactly with that word that has the same sonido or sound in another language, this will contribute for you to learn quicker. And then again, congratulations. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you, Jean, also for being here and sharing that
Thank
comment with us. And yeah, it's interesting to think about the connections and the bridges among languages. At times, we have this perspective that may isolate them, but at the end of the day, depending on the speakers and the context and the languages that people are learning are using, it's possible to find more bridges. So this is great, I think. Also, thank you, Jean, once again for your comment. Maybe, Carol Jimenez, I would like to know a little bit more about if you can expand it a little bit. What's your understanding of this multicultural approach? You mentioned maybe some aspects of the elements that you have there included in your open educational resource, but maybe if you can tell us a little bit more about what's been your approach to culture. Okay, how has it been your experience of working with the local and also the international or the global in that particular context, in that particular school where you are teaching?
Well, Andres, when before to come here to the United States, my approach about culture was just Colombian culture. Yeah. And when I say Colombian culture, I refer to our costumes, the way, our manners, the pronunciation, the words, even the words, the vocabulary that we use. So when I came back here, when I came here to the United States, that word, that approach, get a little bit huge because I understand in that moment that even we are a speaker, Spanish speakers, as Venezuela, Cuba, Mexican, well, Honduras, El Salvador people, we have different culture. And remember that the language is connected to a culture. I mean, the language is building by culture. So I notice in that case that I need to understand first the culture of my students. And then as a teacher, I can put the culture inside of the activities. For example, for me, that was a little bit fun when I say in the first 2 weeks, I get, or guess, of month here as a teacher in my class says, hey guys, put these books or this in your maleta. And I say maleta because in Colombia we say maleta. And I noticed the face of my students. They said, they do it. What is maleta? Yeah, what is she referring? What is maleta? And I start thinking about what is the correct word. I mean, what is the global word that connect the cultures? Yeah. And when they say, I say that one. What is that one? And they say mochila, maestra, mochila. And I say, oh my God, mochila, put into your mochila. So for me, that was the first learn when I came here to the United States. Notice that the culture is something that we have to construct or build by our language. And I need, as a teacher, to find the global connection. I mean, I need to target my students in terms of multicultural. What would be those points that we can connect, even we are speaking Spanish? And as Ms. Galvao says, we have to translate, no, to move that transfer to English in the case of them because they are learning English. So as a multicultural, of course, I have to take into account the festivals, the costumes, the food, their experiences, how they, for example, I don't know, celebrate Mother's Day, if they celebrate. There are students, for example, that have different family components. We have to take into account those type of differences in our culture. So I think that here in this country, I expanded my multicultural approach. I mean, focusing language, but you have to put in the same bag many things that you have to take into account at the moment to teach a language.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Carol. It's interesting to see what happens not only in the class implementation with our students, but also what you are portraying in the sense of your personal experience as a teacher, like coming from Colombia and teaching in a different context. I think this is also relevant in the point you are making there. Okay, thank you. I wonder if there is any additional question or if there is any additional comment. Feel free to, as I said before, open your mic or type it in the chat. Yes, Maria Victoria, go ahead.
Good afternoon. So I wanted to ask you, what made you start teaching those kids principles with the work that you do? Because I live in the US too, and seeing kids at that young age go through many complications because of their language, how do you approach those kids that might have problems, that might have things that usual kids or basic kids do not encounter with? Because most of your kids are immigrants. So how do you, with your work and how you've implemented that type of work with them, how do you expect or how do you pretend to give them more space and a safe space for their culture while teaching them English?
Okay. One of the things that I expect from my students is first, eliminate or avoid the language barrier. They need to feel comfortable communicating in English or in Spanish. Yeah. And as I told you, in my classes, I have both. I have native English speakers and I have native Spanish speakers. And in my class, what I promote to my students is communicate freely, no matter what is the language. Because as a Spanish teacher, it's supposed that just I have to speak them or they have to speak in Spanish. Of course, that is the target. But since the beginning, in the beginning of the classes, I want promote with them comfortable communication, no matter if they speak in Spanish or they speak in English to me. And then the idea is during the process when I am applying strategies, when I listen to them, when I listen their experiences, I mean understand what happened, their fears, yeah, their thoughts. The idea is that take all of these things and try to change, yeah, and use it in order to feeling comfortable. I mean, make them feeling comfortable in my classes. Of course, I have students that advance a little bit quicker than others. That is something that happens, I guess, in all the classrooms in around the world. Yeah. But with my students, I want that they feel comfortable in my class. Of course, I implement the strategies like the educational resource in order that they can get the information from other sources, yeah, and they face the challenge in the case of technology, yes, using the technology activities. But I expect that they start communicating. That is my first expectation. Try to communicate, no matter if you do it well, no matter if you do it exactly what you have to do it, but communicate. And that is the first expectation that I promote in my students. That's why I was just thinking all the time, engage them with the fun activities, with activities and readings that for them would be familiar, yeah, and would be interesting. And the idea is that in those type of interventions, they are growing, growing and growing and growing a little bit more until the end of the year. I wanna I check and they notice the difference when they start and now when we are finished the process. They can check, they can see the process they have.
Okay, thank you for your answer, and also thank you, Maria Victoria, for asking your question over here. And I think we might have time for one additional question or comment. Let's see if one of the attendees today has one. We have Laura here, Ana, Jenny, Juan Camilo, Maria Camila, Alejandro, Jenien, Harold, Dana, Lisbeth. Is there any additional question? Is there any additional comment? Let's see. Because, well, I do have one, Profe Carol, and it's related to working with phonological awareness. Because at times, we have this structural view of a language. And at times, we also need to make explicit to our children what we are doing. In the videos you presented, they are somehow becoming aware of what they are pronouncing, the way they are doing, and also the exercises guided them through that. But I would like to know if there has been any situation or experience with children in which you say, okay, now I realize that they, even if they probably don't know the phonological awareness term, but that it comes to reality, that you see, okay, this is the concept, the abstract concept, but then I see that this is actually taking place in the class.
Yes, of course, there were a lot of activities in which I failed. Yeah, and I say, no, no, that doesn't work. And when that happened, one of the things that I appreciated a lot here in USA system is that I have time to reteach. I mean, of course, we have to carry out the curriculum, yeah, and the calendars that we have is scheduled in the school, but I have time to reteach. So that is something that I appreciated a lot because I can come back. I mean, I can go back with my student. And as I told you, the small groups, the strategy help us a lot of in order to re, reteach and try with that specific student. Okay, I mean we can group in. I mean the lowers, and I say, well, I noticed that all of you don't get the concept yet, and I'm gonna do it another an extra activity with you in order that you can start thinking in the correct sound or in the way that I needed that they. And as I show you in the videos, there were the first video, I was working with just this student, yeah, and that he can process letter by letter, sound by sound, do it again and try it again. And one of the resource, the open educational resource, allow is the students can do the activity one, two, three, four, 5 times until the student can achieve. Remember that one is of the purpose of the proposals of the educational result. They can reuse, yeah, they can reuse the activities one, two, three, 4 times, and no matter, because the idea is that the resource help the student to achieve the standard, yeah. And of course, I had a lot of activities in which I say, oh my God, it doesn't work. But as I told you, they can try it again, and they can try it again, and they can try it again. And I think that the repetition would be a good strategy that we have to allow it to our students in order that they can get. Also, it is important when they recognize what was the mistake. Yeah. When you as a teacher said, no, that is incorrect, remember that this one, remember that one, remember that. In that way, they can build again the path, the correct path, in order to learn, in this case, the phonemic awareness of the lyrics.
All right, okay, interesting. This reflection about the pedagogical practice itself. Well, we have an additional commenter, Prof. Harold. We can, yeah, go ahead, Prof. Harold.
Thank you so much to Asocopi for organizing this wonderful webinar. Thank you so much, Carol, for your contribution to this academic discussion and building, academic communities. I have a question for you in terms of advice. In Colombia, we have in English classrooms, English language classrooms, a very multicultural environment. We had students coming from different cities, for example, or in our classroom, we can have different ethnicities and also foreign students, etc., etc. What would be your advice based on your experience for English language teachers in Colombia? Like how your research contributes like to a context like the Colombian one?
I guess that as a language teacher, the most important thing is thinking that language is built by culture. No matter how the culture is. That is something that I learned here. Because as a teachers, especially when in Colombia we are English teacher, we used to think as an English teacher that we have the truth. Yes, we have just the truth as an English teacher. And as an English teacher, I noticed that we say to our students in Colombia, that's the way to say something. That's the way you have to think in this, yeah, in terms of communication. But here in this country, I understand that we can't do this one in order that our students can help and build and construct the language that we are building, in this case, the English in our classes. Because maybe they have another ways to see the world. And the culture is something that is the way that we see the world. And in that way, we speak, we think, we read, we write. And as advice, I think that our teachers, if we have students from different regions in Colombia or foreign students, we have to let them to create, I mean, their culture in class. It is important to have it in mind. Because as a teacher, we don't have just the truth. I mean, we are not just like a judges of the language or something like that. No, we have to open our mind and let our students communicate. Because remember, the language is just the vehicle in which the culture goes. So that is something important that I give you as an advice. I know that we have to follow a curriculum. And I know that we have to follow books. I have to follow structures. I know that is necessary and that is important, but I think that everything it is those things are important, but we have to go a little bit deeper. How our students are thinking, the point of view of our students, they have I need to communicate in the way that they know. Yes, and as a teacher, I mean, as an English teacher, they, I mean, our role is try to support them. Yeah, no say to them, no, it is not the way. No, that is wrong. No, that is incorrect. No, we have to support them to guide them. Yes, acquire the language. In this case, the English structures, the English vocabulary in an easy way, but no going against them. No, the idea is that do it the transition, the cross linguistic transfer into them, do it easier, smooth. Yeah, because we are taking into account their backgrounds, their experience, what they think, what they read. Yes, according to their culture. That is my advice.
Thank you so much for your advice, Carol.
Okay, thank you, Professor Harold. Thank you, Carol. If maybe this question is important to some people, if an individual, a colleague, a teacher would like to see your material, is it possible to have access to what you have created, to what you have been, um, you know, constructing there in your context? Is it possible to have access to it?
Are you referring to the open educational resource?
Yes, the one that you showed and the exercises and these materials.
Okay, and if you want to contact me, and I can give you the material, of course. But I guess that I have to share maybe my email.
Yes, please.
Just give me a second. I'm going to share my email with you here in the chat because I have it in the presentation. Wait for me. Wait for me. Yes, the idea is that I can share. That's the way. I mean, the open educational resource works. The idea is that the people can access to the elements, the activities, everything. So I'm going to share with you. Where is the chat? I don't see the chat. I see the chat. Yes. There it is. In the chat is my email.
Okay, well, thank you. It's carol.carol.bolanosprieto at palmbeachschools.org. Okay, so thank you. There is also last comment there before we say bye-bye, and it's by Jinien. I don't know if I pronounced correctly your name. As a teacher who has seen you for the last few years, I'm impressed with your growth in learning how to navigate instruction with so many different needs and cultures. We often see our students not have success, but with consistency, explicit teaching, and practice is where they will learn what is needed. Meeting students with their culture allows them to feel valued and more engaged in their learning. Great presentation. So also thank you for your comment, okay? I just would like to close it up thanking you once again, Profe Carol Ximena, for sharing your experience, okay, for talking about your pedagogical work there in the US. And I also invite all the attendees and all the um, members of ASACOPI, okay, or reservist teachers or teachers who might see this conference in this webinar in the future to attend our annual conference. It's going to take place this year in October, from the October 1st to the 3rd at Universidad Industrial de Santander in Bucaramanga. So you are all invited to participate there. The call for papers just closed last Sunday, and we will start the process of evaluating all the proposals that were submitted. Okay, so feel free to join us to participate in this important academic event. We could have the presence of Professor Berta Ramos, Professor Yuko Kubota, Professor Samantha Kroll, and also would have Professors Jesse Ortega and Dario Luis Vanegas, who are going to be plenary speakers in this event, okay? And last but not least, if you would like to join our community, we have an informative channel available. If feel free to join it, okay? We'll be sharing info related to our webinars, to our conference, maybe at times job opportunities, and events related to teaching of ELT and teaching languages in Colombia. So we invite you all to scan this QR code and join it. And finally, there is this invitation open to follow us on social media. Stay tuned. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and also this is our email, asocopicolombia@gmail.com. So feel free to contact us if you have any idea, if you have a proposal, if maybe there is an initiative that's been in your mind and you would like to share it with our broader audience, feel free to do it. We're here to help, to collaborate, and also to share all the wonderful work that you are doing. Celia said as well, great work, Carol, teachers making the difference. Thanks a lot. Yes, I cannot agree more with you, Celia. Also, thank you for your comment. And thank you, Carol Ximena, for being with us today. Any final remarks, any final words you would like to share? Carol?
No, enjoy your work. Be happy.
Okay, thank you all and have a good afternoon, good night. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye bye, everyone. See you in our coming webinar in a couple of weeks. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Andres. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care. Bye bye.